Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Dolls of Horror podcast, the spot to feed your tormented addiction. I'm Summer.
And I'm Jamie.
And today we have with us a extra special guest, the writer and director of Jason Goes to Hell, Mr. Adam Marcus.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome.
Hey, Adam.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to have you here with us today.
I'm thrilled to be here with you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the fact that you're basically a child prodigy. I read all this on the internet. Is this all true?
It is.
Okay, because I'm like, it's the internet.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
But it says at 11-year-old, you were a PA on a studio movie, and at 13 you were an apprentice at Columbia Pictures.
I was apprentice editor. Yeah.
Okay. And then at 15 you created the Westport Theater Works Company. At 15.
Yeah.
Seriously, dude. What was I doing at 15?
I know, I was gonna say.
That was the same year I started teaching. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then, let's skip ahead a few years. At 23 years old, you directed this movie. But first, it's true that you had something to do with My Boyfriend's Back.
I produced it.
I love that fucking movie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I talk about that movie all the time. I compare it to the feeling of maybe Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I think it actually had somebody that was in Buffy in that. But around the same time, same kind of feel. I've been telling Jamie she has to see this movie.
I do have to see it. She has been telling me.
I only wish that you could both see the movie that Dean Lorey and I had originally cooked up when we were in college together, because it was at NYU when we developed that movie for about 3 years. And it was far darker, far funnier, and had musical numbers.
I mean, you had us at musical numbers. We're there. We're there.
It was kind of amazing. And it was also, the movie was, because, Dean wrote it in the 80s when we were finishing up film school. And we had a lot of friends in New York at that time who died of AIDS. So the movie was really an allegory for the AIDS crisis, because the original concept was that when Johnny rises from the grave to go to the prom, he's warned that if you go past the gates of the cemetery, your body will deteriorate in 3 days unless you eat the flesh of the living, which he finds repugnant and doesn't want to do. Right. Well, the reason he finds this out is because there are 100 zombies living inside the confines of the cemetery, but they're just sort of playing cards and hanging out and doing musical numbers to occupy their time. And when Johnny breaks free of this, all the zombies see his bravery and they go, we want to go back to our families.
Yeah.
And so it was about all these zombies that went home. They weren't there to eat the living. Right. They just wanted to be among the living. They just miss the people they love.
Yeah.
And everyone shuns them. And that's what had happened to so many of our friends, because I grew up on Broadway, and a lot of my friends ended up in that horrible disease and situation. Yeah. And so it was analogous to the fact that their families, they would come home to their families and they were seen as monsters when they were just the same people they always were. They just wanted to be loved.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So that's what initially Johnny Zombie, My Boyfriend's Back, what it was originally called Johnny Zombie, what that movie was about. So yeah, it was, again, the movie they made is adorable, but
it is adorable.
The minute Disney bought the movie,
it became a Disney movie.
Right.
I was like, they are totally going to make, this is going to be the Mouse House. So, and
this is going to be Hocus Pocus,
Exactly.
Yes.
I desperately wanted New Line. New Line and Disney were in a bidding war over the movie, but Disney just had deeper pockets, and Sean Cunningham's first love always is money. So, so that was just the way that was going to go. Yeah. But that's why because I was originally supposed to direct Johnny Zombie. And because Disney was making this big budget movie, there was no way they were going to let a 23-year-old kid direct the movie. So that's when Sean Cunningham said, all right, well, Paramount is selling the rights to Jason Voorhees to New Line. So if you can get the effing hockey mask out of the movie, I'll let you write and direct it.
Wow. So that's what happened, huh?
That's literally what happened. And I was so excited because I was a huge Friday 13th fan, like huge. And so I ran from the office like, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's so great. And then I was like, wait a minute, get rid of the what?
Yeah.
So that was sort of the sequence of events. Yeah. Yep. But that's how it happened.
Wow. And I'm dying to know, like, kind of where did the idea come from? Like, what was the process of like making the story, putting it together? What was your writing process?
The process was this. I had 3 days to come up with a treatment for the movie. Literally, I was given 3 days. So, which I did. I wrote the treatment in 3 days. What happened was, okay, so as a kid, I was so in love with these movies. However, as a kid with a brain in my head, I kept saying, wait a sec. So at the end of the first movie, right, 30 plus years after the death of this kid, of Jason Voorhees, he rises from the lake and he's still 11. Yeah. He's still a little boy. Okay. All right. Then 2 weeks later, he has gained 120 pounds of pure muscle. He has found a tailor to fit him perfectly with a suit of clothes. He has learned to read because back then the only way you could find out where anybody lived was by looking in the white pages.
Right.
He has learned to drive because I don't think he took a city bus carrying his mom's head. And not only that, but then he works out a very intricate kill.
Yeah.
Where he hides mom's head in the second shelf of the fridge, which, by the way, as anyone knows, it's the most cluttered shelf of the fridge. So
my whole fridge is a mess.
Absolutely.
Like, really?
So he's moved everything, right? He's put that head there, and then he goes and he hides, and he waits
quietly.
Right. This is our Jason, right? The guy who just hacks people up with a machete. Yeah. No. He hides and waits for Alice to come to the fridge. And imagine the number of times she like walked towards the fridge and didn't go to the fridge. And he's like, okay. So then he kills Alice.
That's a parody I want to see made.
Right? Takes her body and the head back to Crystal Lake, where he puts it into his makeshift shanty town. Okay.
His shrine.
Right. Now then let's jump to part 4, where Tommy turns his head into hamburger meat at the end of that movie. Yeah. So there's no head left at the end of that movie. He just hacks away at it, right?
Yeah.
Now jump to part 6, where he's resurrected Frankenstein's monster style.
Yep. Yeah.
But he has a head.
Yes.
How'd he get a head? Where'd the head come from? Right?
Yeah.
Forget about the fact that by part 7, he's battling, Stephen King's Carrie, and part 8, he takes a Circle Line ride to Montreal. Mm-hmm. So now there's your
Vancouver, actually.
Oh, true that. So there's your timeline, right? That's the sacred Friday the 13th timeline that fanboys get crazy about. Like I'm
sure.
And I'm like, this timeline makes no sense
from part 2. Nope. And that's actually what I said to my husband, actually, because I was watching Jason Goes to Hell to review again, because it's been about a year.
Sure.
And he's like, this makes no sense. And I said, like, any of the rest of them made any sense at all?
Well, but wait, here's
the thing. From 8 to 30 overnight.
The reason why I created Jason Goes to Hell and why it structured the way it is was all intentional to fix that timeline so that timeline makes sense. Because now let's figure, okay, So Pamela Voorhees will do anything to have her Jason back. Anything.
Right.
So wouldn't she look to the dark arts?
Yes.
Wouldn't she look to something like the Necronomicon and reading from the Necronomicon so that she could resurrect her Jason? Yep. Now imagine, remember, Jason is this hydrocephalic-headed, mentally challenged little boy who's stuck at the bottom of Crystal Lake, right? And at this point, he's been there for decades. And here's his body covered in brambles, in the filth of the bottom of this lake, and he can't move, and he's in cold darkness, right? When he wakes up. And his mom's not there. His mom doesn't know where to come and get it. He's just there, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine that one of the first things he sees up above him at the surface of the lake is his mommy rushing towards the lakeside and someone cutting her head off. And now he rises from the lake, attacks Alice, pulls her off of her canoe, but he's still a little boy. He's still in this small form, right? Yeah. Okay. She gets away, but the rage in him, the need to destroy Alice, suddenly, now that you are part of the evil dead, and I'm not saying a deadite. I always love that people are like, there's just deadites. No. If you look at the mythology of and again, I love all these H.P. Lovecraft scholars who always tell me, I'm like, really?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Here's the thing. We called him the devil's assassin. That's what Dean and I always called Jason. And this idea that if he is suddenly filled now with the evil dead, I believe him gaining 120 pounds of weight. I believe his head growing back. I believe him being resurrected, Frankenstein's monster style. Mm-hmm. I believe all of it now because now it's supported by dark magic. Now I'm in. This character's a monster. He's been a monster since the first movie.
Yes.
Why are we treating him as though he's not that? So it's funny, when I went to see the movie Rogue One, which of course is, an entire film based on the idea that someone put a hole in the Death Star that you could shoot one shot into and explode the Death Star. So now Jason Goes to Hell really is the Rogue One of the Friday the 13th franchise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's where the writing came from.
And Jamie and I were talking about this about an hour ago. We're like, people love to hate this movie. And then I'm like, people love to hate everything, actually.
This is true.
And I was like, I've always loved this movie. I think I've always loved this movie because I was at an appropriate-ish age to see it when it was new release. So I was like 11.
Perfect.
Oh, and that's like the perfect age. Yeah.
Right. So whereas like I've been watching horror since I was 8 years old, but some of those movies are 10 years old by the time I get to them. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So I have this fond memory of renting this one in new release.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with Part 8, renting that one in new release. I love those ones, and people hate those ones, but I love them, I think, because they were so new and fresh when I did see them.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And look, again, I totally understand people who all they want is hockey mask for 90 minutes of the movie. What I find funny is that my film has more Jason in a hockey mask than almost any of the other movies, just screen time wise. There's a ton of screen time of Jason Voorhees as Jason Voorhees. So there is sort of a fanboy conceit that because we have the body hopping, because there's a mythology that suddenly shows up in Part 9, which I totally understand people's gears getting grinded over, and I get it. There's also a certain sense of you have 6 movies with Jason Voorhees. You have 6 already up to my film, because the first movie is about Pamela. The 5th movie is about Roy, a guy who has a photograph of Jason in his back pocket. If you want hockey mask, you've got 5 of those movies to contend with.
Yeah.
You got 5 hockey mask movies. And again, my film has the hockey mask in it.
Oh, yeah.
I also, look, I think that I feel very lucky, actually, that the movie has, I always say it's a kind of a 50-50 divided camp.
I agree.
50% of the audience loves the movie, 50% of the movie hates the movie. And no one seems to have like a middle of the road reaction to the movie. It's like one or the other.
Yeah.
I actually think that the people who hate the movie have kept the movie alive all these years. I think that more people debate the movie, which I think is a positive thing. I don't see that as a negative. And again, I'm okay with people not digging the flick. That's okay. Like, that's great. Hate the movie. That's awesome. Let's talk about it. It's just it's the fanboys that like wish me ass cancer. That I could do with that. That part I could definitely do without that. Yeah. But other than that, I'm cool. I'm cool with people having whatever reaction they have. It means that somehow I affected them with the movie, which is great.
And they've watched it and they've thought about it and they're engaging with it. I'm a reporter outside of this. That's what I do for a living. So I totally feel you on the whole like ass cancer stuff. Like,
right? It's like, wow.
All the time. Yeah.
Wow. It's like, that's it. First off, I've had 3 people wish that on me, and I'm like, wow, that's a really specific form of cancer. Like, wow, that's a wow. But you know what? Look, here's the thing. I made a joke. The Scream Factory new Blu-ray set. I intro the movie on it, and I make a joke about, thanks to all of the people who hate this movie, who now own a 5th copy of it in their library.
Exactly.
Because you guys helped to pay for my swimming pool. And it's really true. Like, the people who hate the movie have so much Jason Goes to Hell memorabilia in their lives. I'm like, but you hate the movie. Like, why would you even buy 1 copy of it? And they have every format. They have VHS, Blu-ray, DVD. I mean, they've got the Laserdisc of the movie. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
they got that poster. Yeah.
Yeah, boy, dude, the movies that I hate, I don't buy stuff from. It's kind of extraordinary. So no, I'm good. I'm good debating it. I'm good with people loving it, people hating it. I prefer when people love it, but it does not ruffle my feathers by any means.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm dying to know, like, what were kind of your first thoughts when you first saw the final product?
Well, it depends, because my final product was very different from their final product.
I read a little something about that. I'd love to hear a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. We, look, I mean, the first cut I had of the movie was incredibly long and boring. Like all movies start. It was well over 2 hours, and it was ridiculous. And it was a lot of exposition, and none of it worked, which is fine. When we finally cut it down to a lean size, it had more drama to it. It had more conflict. It also was far bloodier than what the American audience got to see. And then, look, New Line needed the movie to be at 90 minutes. Like, they needed that number. And the reason is that you would get 1 extra screening per day at every theater.
Oh, okay.
That was literally the reasoning, because my cut was a little over 100 minutes. So I cut it down to a 93-minute runtime, which had all the gore. Like, I was like, look, I'm not going to screw the fans. They need to get what they came for.
Right.
So all of that was in there. But then New Line, of course, and this was not their fault at all, but the MPAA was like, you're not going to release the movie with an R if you don't cut this, and this. And they did. So by reducing it down, New Line got their extra showing, which was terrific. And it made way more money because of it. And then New Line always had a dastardly plan with Jason Goes to Hell, because they had asked me intentionally, please shoot some scenes that we can't show in theaters.
Okay.
Because it's the first movie that New Line ever released as an unrated and rated cut.
Oh.
So every every mom and pop shop had to buy 2 copies of the movie instead of 1. So it became the biggest release New Line had ever had of a VHS title at that time. It was their biggest seller.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So New Line was very happy, and very happy with what I had given them, because things like the tent scene, they were like, this is gold, and this is going to make us twice the money. And it did.
I don't think I've ever seen the the cut version. Like I saw it, of
Good
course.
for you.
Yeah,
I don't think I actually have either.
I know I've seen a cut version because I would watch it on like TNT. So I've seen a cut version, but that was cut even more.
But you know what's great about the TNT version, the TV version, is that they inserted some of the drama scenes back in, some of the stuff that was in my original 100 and some minute cut.
They did the same thing for Halloween when I watched the TV version, and I was like, it completely changed the story.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Which I love. Like, it's insane.
For me, here was the thing. in approaching the writing and the structuring of the movie, one of the things that I have a problem with slasher films in general, and by the way, not initial slasher films, but with sequels.
Okay.
What happens in all of these franchises, and let's take Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw, even Hellraiser. The first movie of all of these franchises are terrifying, right? The first movie is crazy scary. In the case of Friday the 13th, the first movie is scary. The second movie is better. The second movie is really terrifying.
I love the second one.
Right?
Yeah.
And by the way, best final girl ever in any of these movies. Amy Steele's incredible. Because she's a great actor. Forget about the fact that she's adorable. She's a great actress.
She really is.
Yeah.
And the character is super smart. And so you're afraid. All of the of Friday the 13th Part 2, you're scared. The initial Halloween, you're terrified. The initial Nightmare on Elm Street, horrifying.
Scary.
Right. Here's what happens. You bring in new filmmakers and you go, okay, and Freddy is the worst of all of them, and it affected all the other franchises. Freddy has a dark sense of humor. Great. In the first movie, that's just terrifying. By the way, no one in the first movie of any of these things is ever saying, go Freddy, kill Heather. No one's saying. No one is saying that, right? No one is hoping Michael Myers will kill Jamie.
No.
Right? No one wants Jamie Lee Curtis dead in that movie. You want her to win. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what happens. When you've got a movie like that, now your audience is in the eyes of the hero character, and it's terrifying because the shark is coming for them. No one goes to the movie Jaws and hopes that Jaws is going to eat Chief Brody. No one ever.
Right.
So here's the thing. Maybe little sharks that see the movie might.
Sure.
So here's the thing. In subsequent films, they make the villain funnier or more ironic. And
He's
they
the
make
hero.
The what?
He's the hero.
Right.
Yeah.
And they turn all of the teenagers and whatnot into snot-nosed little assholes that you're like, I can't wait for them to die.
Yep.
Well, guess what? That's not scary anymore.
No.
There's nothing scary about that. That is purely now the shark is the good guy and all the swimmers are the bad guy. Well, here's the thing. If you eliminate these movies from being scary, you're killing the whole reason I loved going to these movies.
Yeah.
And why so few things are scary anymore. So with Jason Goes to Hell, I was like, okay, I want a villain that you never know where the villain is. Like, you're like, who could be the villain next? Right? So for me, I love when people say like, oh, it's a ripoff of The Hidden. I hadn't seen The Hidden when we wrote the movie. I had not seen the movie. So when I finally saw The Hidden, I was like, oh, God, everybody's going to say I ripped this off. Oh, my God. Here's the thing. I was doing a tribute to John Carpenter's The Thing because John Carpenter is right. That's what I was doing. Like, I'm doing The Thing. I'm not doing The Hidden. That being said, I wanted my heroes to be people that you loved and that had full lives. And my problem with the Friday the 13th franchise in particular is that why hasn't someone shut down that camp? Why hasn't someone gone and looked for somebody who's killed over 100 people? That's a major serial killer. Where's the FBI? Yeah. Which is why the opening of the film is the way it is, where I'm like, no, the feds someone would come in and deal with this problem. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So now you've got a town of people who are just trying to live their lives. Now, by the way, initially, the Stephen Freeman character that John D. LeMay plays in the movie was Tommy Jarvis. I was not allowed to use Tommy Jarvis because New Line had only bought Jason Voorhees. They didn't buy Tommy Jarvis from Paramount. So I couldn't do any of that.
Sure.
But I wanted it to be a movie about the heroes, not about the villains.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's why these characters, I wanted them to be three-dimensional characters. I wanted them to be people that you were interested in so that when the shark shows up, you're like, oh no, the shark.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
because you're right, we don't care about the characters in a lot of the Friday movies. That's
something that we talked about, where they throw in 20 people to get killed and you don't even know their names.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like the one with the boobs. No, the other one with the boobs.
Yeah.
You know? And it was really funny because we did this, my friend and I did this like Jason Voorhees trivia game, and the questions were hard. They were really hard. And they were naming names like, who did so-and-so, and we're like, who's that? But when we did the Freddy Krueger ones, we knew every character name because there were less of them.
Yep.
So you cared about them more.
Yep.
Right.
And look, even in movies like Dream Warriors, which I think is a terrific movie, Freddy still too jokey, but you still care about those kids.
Yes. And you know their names.
Right.
You know their backstory even. They all have a backstory.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. So I mean,
it makes for a better horror movie, plain and simple.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not really into horror movies that don't have some horror in them. I'm and again, gore is great. Like I love a good kill. I'm all over. I mean, please, ostensibly, Jason Goes to Hell is the wettest of all the Friday the 13th movies. It's a bloody movie, but
it's so gooey.
It really is.
Which is how we like it. We like it gooey.
Yeah. The other half of the reason I got into business. But here's the thing. I've never been a gore hound. Like I've never been the guy who goes to the movie just for the gore. I go for the fact that I'm going to get this kind of roller coaster ride of a movie. Like give me something emotionally that I'm interested in. And look, there's a scene in Jason Goes to Hell that I always love to reference as sort of, it's probably my favorite scene from a cinematography standpoint, and it's definitely one of my favorite scenes from an acting standpoint. But John D. LeMay, the first time he sees his baby, and has this moment in the back of the diner with the child, who, of course, nothing says that a 23-year-old directed a movie like a baby in a box. Nothing says that I'm the 23-year-old dude. It's like amazing. But there's the baby, by the way, the cutest kid ever put on earth. And then his buddy, Ward, the son of the two people who run the diner, who he went to high school with, comes into the back room and finds him there. And there's this moment between these two guys, and there's very little dialogue.
Yeah.
Where John's character says, I've never touched my baby before. And my buddy Adam Cranner, who's been my friend since we were 8 years old, he played Ward. He pulls his keys out and tosses them to him and says, "Get out of here." And their entire relationship. Everything about those two men in that moment. And again, it's in a Friday the 13th movie. That's what I was going. By the way, Jason Goes to Hell is the only Friday the 13th movie to have an extensive. We had 6 weeks of rehearsal before we shot the movie. Wow. So I worked with those actors because I'm an actor's director. That's what I love about directing.
You did like a play, and then
exactly I treated it like I had each one of them write up their backstories.
Wow.
And they were like, "We're really doing this?" I'm like, yeah. We're doing it. Like, let's do this. And I'm telling you, every actor contributed to that. Everybody wanted it. So it was like theater camp. I mean, it was pretty extraordinary. The whole process was pretty extraordinary. It really was.
But Jamie and I are both musical theater nerds.
Yeah.
So, big time.
Yeah, you are. You are.
It's crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm actually, the reason we had to do this interview a little bit earlier today is because I am literally heading out in an hour to go and direct a Bollywood musical for the Fringe Festival in LA this year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Tell us how that project came about.
It just happened, right?
It really it just happened because I one of the things that I've done for my whole life, and as I said, at 15 I started teaching. I started teaching acting. That was where my specialty was, and I've run an acting school in LA for the last 25 years. And that group of actors, I've got 60 actors I work with every week. Those 60 actors are part of the Skeleton Crew troupe. And they are the actors that I go to. If you see my film Secret Santa, it's nothing but my students. And they're students that all work constantly in film and television. So they're amazing actors. Anyway, one of those actors is an amazing woman named Ruchi Kishore. And Ruchi wrote this play that got accepted to the Fringe Festival, and they are deep in rehearsal, and she was freaking out because she was not happy with the direction of the piece and what was happening. She came to me, and I was like, I have absolutely no time because I'm prepping 4 movies right now and a new TV series. And I was like, you need what now? And smartly, really wisely, she cast my wife in the play. So I was like, well, I guess I'm directing a Bollywood musical. Okay. So that is happening now. So yes, I'm literally doing that later today. So
well, that's an amazing surprise. Like
it really is. It really is. Yeah. But no, musical theater was my life for much of my life. It was what I lived and breathed.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie and I just spent 72 hours together straight in Indianapolis at the convention. And the last night we were just taking pictures and stuff with each other, but playing in the background was Chicago the Musical.
So we were singing, dancing, taking photos.
And I'm trying to remember the choreography because it's been 20 years since I did this. And I'm like, okay, I think it went something like this and this, and then I don't remember. And then, this happens. To the Hot Honey Rag number. And I was like, I remembered maybe 40% of it very sloppily, by the way.
Sure.
Oh, speak for yourself. It looked great.
Which festival were you at in Indianapolis or convention?
Oh, Days of the Dead.
Oh, sure. Right.
They sponsor our show. So
awesome. That's awesome. It's a great convention.
It's a lot of fun. And so we get to go and work and host their panels and do a lot of fun things like that and hang out with each other. It was the first time we'd ever met in person.
Yeah.
It was kind of magical.
Oh, that's great. There you go.
Yeah.
So it's been a complete StreamYard Zoom relationship until then.
We met on Instagram.
Yeah. During the pandemic,
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
And then when the first co-host, she didn't have time, so she wanted to drop out. I'm like, okay, who can I replace her with? Or do I do this alone? Or to just have a new guest host every week? And I'm like, well, that Jamie girl we had on as a guest a couple of weeks ago was pretty fantastic. I'll ask her.
That's me. I'm the Jamie girl.
She's the Jamie girl. And it was just a magical union. It really was.
That's awesome. The pandemic's done a lot of that. It's brought a lot of people together that normally never would have either met or become close. So yeah.
Now pre-pandemic, you were working on a documentary, right? Hearts of Darkness.
We still are.
How is that? Yeah, how is that coming along? Because I know that kind of got shut down.
Yeah, what happened? It was amazing. We shot 30 interviews in January and February of 2020, and then COVID.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've already shot over 75 hours of footage for this documentary.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's crazy. And then just now we are scheduling our last 8 interviews. We did 2 over the pandemic, which was great. We were able to work it out. And I wouldn't shoot Zoom. I wouldn't do things. I'm like, no, not happening. I'm not putting that stuff in the movie.
You can wait.
We shipped cameras to people. We did everything we could do. And then we would interview over Zoom, but they would be shot in 4K with our cameras the way we wanted it to be done.
So it's like in person.
Oh yeah.
Not like this.
Exactly. So it because I wanted intimacy for the doc and I want it to look beautiful. The fans paid for the doc. I want them to get the doc they paid for.
Sure.
And then in the middle of all of this, I get a call from Josh Miller, who wrote Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2, the upcoming new Sonic.
Okay.
Because he runs a thing called Friday Night Frights for the American Cinematheque. And he was reaching out to me because the American Cinematheque wanted to do an anniversary screening of Jason Goes to Hell. And I was like, oh, yeah. He said, will you come out and talk to the audience and do a Q&A? I was like, of course I will.
Yeah.
So next Friday, which is the actual anniversary of the release of Jason Goes to Hell, August 13th, Friday 13th, there is a American Cinematheque screening happening in Los Angeles that my whole documentary crew will be there documenting that, because we're going to use that as the end of the documentary.
Awesome.
So yeah, so it's kind of extraordinary. And by the way, it got sold out in record time. In fact, we broke their website because people went so fast to grab tickets. It was amazing.
I would have, if I'm local, I would have.
Yeah,
it was crazy. So so that's next Friday. So I'm really excited about that. Like, that's a really fun, kind of great way to celebrate, and also a great chapter for the documentary. But I gotta tell you, I mean, our editor, a brilliant guy named Eric Beatner, just got nominated for his 9th Emmy as an editor on The Amazing Race. Yeah, it's crazy. So, you know, we've just gotten, like, more and more wonderful things have happened for the doc. And because of the shutdown, I was able to get a hold of a couple people we hadn't gotten a hold of yet to be in the doc. So it's going to be over 40 interviews in this documentary of all the people who were involved with this film to begin with. So it's been amazing. It's been amazing. So you're a huge Christmas horror fan. Have you seen Secret Santa yet?
No, I didn't even know about it until I was doing my research on you. So this has to happen this year.
We'll add it to our Christmas collection too of viewing, because we really every December we do Christmas movies. It's definitely like what makes me jolly for the season.
Yeah.
So I really want to see it. So you're a fan of Christmas horror as well?
Oh, huge. Well, here's the thing though. My problem with Christmas horror is that so much of it is based around an evil Santa Claus. And I was like, I will not make that movie. I will not make a movie about a guy getting dressed up in a Santa suit. For me, I have a very complicated relationship with Christmas because I'm Jewish. My parents are both Jewish. They got married on Christmas Eve because it was my mother's favorite time of the year because it was decorated so beautifully. She loved the way everything looked. And you could get the temple cheap on a Christmas Eve, right? Like nobody's using the temple. Let's do that.
Right.
So they had this beautiful wedding, right? And then they started having an anniversary party every year on Christmas Eve. Well, here's the problem. If you have any friends that are not Jewish and you have a party on Christmas Eve, it better be a Christmas Eve party alongside of your anniversary.
Yeah.
So my parents ended up being like the Christmas maniacs. So our house was decked out like out of control. Wow. My mother actually started making fancy Christmas ornaments that she started selling. This was before Etsy. She really went all in on Christmas. So here's the thing. As a little kid, I would get my Hanukkah gifts, which were always like, you know, pencils and socks. And then I would get my cool gift on Christmas, right? So Christmas was awesome. Plus, there was this amazing party with 100 people in our house with my whole family and all of this love, right? Until my parents got split up when I was 6 years old. And the thing is, they kept having the party. Well, now, instead of this like joyous, wonderful thing, everybody had these smiles on their faces, but there were things like, where the hell's my alimony check? So Christmas became this weird mix of like joyous holiday spirit and my family wanting to murder each other.
Welcome to all our Christmases.
Exactly. And that's the thing, as I got older, I found out this is sort of everybody's relationship with Christmas. So what Secret Santa is about a family that gets together for Christmas Eve, and something happens that at first makes everybody start saying what they want to say about each other, and then they start doing to each other what they want to do to each other.
That's my kind of
brilliant.
movie.
Oh my gosh.
It's the thing I am the most proud of that I've written and directed. My wife and I wrote it together. Deborah and I wrote it together. Deborah's one of the leads in the movie. She is unbelievable in the film. But I've got people like Michael Rady, who, if you're a fan of Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, he's Custis, the Greek boy. Yes, he's lovely. He's also he's become sort of the Hallmark king. So if you see Michael, you'll be like, I totally know Michael Rady.
Yeah, I am. That's the thing. I have a big box of Christmas movies, and I'm talking a big box of Christmas movies, and it is a mixture of your classics like The Christmas Carol, George C. Scott, and Miracle on 34th, all that. Every Christmas horror movie I can get my hands on that I know about, including I have All the Creatures Are Stirring on DVD, and then Hallmark Christmas movies.
Oh yeah.
Like, for real. It's such
Trust
a mix.
me, Michael is in a bunch of those. He is, and he's always the corporate executive who just hasn't learned the magic of Christmas yet.
Was there also a dog? There's always a dog.
Always. No, I'm telling you guys, if you guys like Christmas horror, we've actually the movie has been incredibly successful. We won a ton of awards around the world, but we were at Sitges in Spain, both Fright Fests in England took the movie. I mean, it was kind of incredible, and it's hit a lot of top 10 best horror Christmas horror movies of all time lists, like a ton.
Jamie, this is what we're covering in December. We're covering this movie.
It's amazing. It's really a cool movie. Like, out of the films I've made, it's one of the movies that I just go, yeah, no, we nailed this one. We got this. So yeah, we did that with my new company with Skeleton Crew, because I had gotten so tired after Deb and I wrote Texas Chainsaw. When we went to see the movie they made, I was like, wow, that is not what we wrote. And that had happened so many times in our careers that I started, and we would get reviews and fans who'd be like, do your thing, cuz. We're like, no, we didn't write that. We did not write that line. That is not ours.
Yeah, we will not be held accountable for that.
No, we did not put a smartphone into a movie that takes place in 1993. We didn't do that. So we would get dinged for stuff that another person had been directed to put that into the movie. And I just got to a point where I was like, I didn't get into this business just to make money. I got into the business to tell stories that I want to tell. Sort of the Johnny Zombie thing. Like, we wrote a movie about AIDS, and you gave us a movie that has none of that. It's just not there. Yeah. And so with Skeleton Crew, it was a chance for us to go, you know what? We're going to make movies that are ours. And if somebody has a problem with something in the movie, great. I'm thrilled. Like, bring it on. Because I'll take the criticism, because I earned it. But also
when somebody has a problem with that, means that people are talking about it too. So that's good.
Damn Skippy. We actually, it was really funny, because the movie is, whenever I would present it at a festival, I would tell the audience, if by the end of this movie, if you are not all offended, I have not done my job.
You're speaking my language. We gotta watch this.
Oh yeah, it is so non-PC, but
Springtime for Hitler.
Completely. By the way, there are things in this movie, I promise you will gasp. You will actually gasp. Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, I'm making fun of people who would say the things that are being said in this movie. It's horrible. What they're doing is horrible, right? Yeah. That's kind of the point. Okay. There was an audience member at Fright Fest Glasgow. It was one of the first screenings of the movie. The audience member tweeted out, right? By the way, the film went over incredibly well. We got a standing ovation. It was amazing, right?
Nice.
This one audience member was like, anti-Semitism, homophobia, transphobia. Is this the best that Fright Fest can do? Right. Mm-hmm. And Alan Jones, who's considered the Roger Ebert of England, right? Who's this critic who picked up the movie. Mm-hmm. He wrote me at that moment. He says, "I think this should be our poster." This person's tweet.
Yeah.
I was like, you're absolutely right. Like, because this person did not get what we were doing at all. They thought I was like, that this was me saying these things. Like, no. I'm making horrible people so that when you murder them, you have a jolly, happy Christmas. That's kind of the point.
And by the way, my COVID Christmas last year was the best Christmas I've ever had in my life. Just me and Henry.
Awesome.
It was like
lovely.
It was the best. And I'm like, we just proved that we don't even need to go anywhere at Christmas. Let's do this every year. And Henry's like, no. And I'm like, please.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. It is.
So you said that this was one of your favorite movies that you've made. Is there a dream project you have, or is there something you have not done yet that you would love to do?
Here's the thing. Deborah and I met while I was doing post-production on Jason Goes to Hell. And when you watch Jason Goes to Hell, Deb is she is the voice of almost every scream, running pant. Anytime a woman in the movie makes any noises, it's Deb. Because Sean Cunningham was too cheap to bring the actors back to do their ADR. Uh-huh. So he was like, your girlfriend's an actress, right? I said, yeah. He goes, well, have her come in. I'll give her a couple bucks. And literally he gave her a couple bucks and bought her lunch. So she is the voice on all this stuff. Well, at that time, Deb was an award-winning playwright when I met her. And I was like, we should be working together. You're working on your stuff, I'm working on mine, but wouldn't it be better if we collaborated? Mm-hmm. And I love working with other writers, particularly women, because it gives you the other perspective on the voices. So, by the way, ironically, I write women much better than my wife does, and she writes men better than I do. So, because I think we actually listen when the opposite sex is talking, so we kind of have a better ear for it.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So we started working together. Deb and I we've written close to 100 scripts together. And the thing is that 2 of our scripts are blacklist movies. I don't know if you guys know what the blacklist is, but it's a list of movies that are considered the best films never made in Hollywood.
Wow.
And one of our blacklisted films got made about 5-6 years ago called Momentum. It was originally called Gravity. And of course, then Sandra Bullock, so we couldn't use Gravity. So we ended up with this movie Momentum that Olga Kurylenko, James Purefoy, and Morgan Freeman star in.
Love James Purefoy.
I know,
and by the way, I got to tell you, James Purefoy is one of those rare guys where the trailer is as good as the feature.
Really?
He's astounding. A joy to work with, couldn't be kinder, and completely wants to contribute to everything that's happening every day. By the way, same with Morgan Freeman. Oh my God. He is the man. He is the man. And I'm telling you, he was flirting with my wife so hard, crazy flirting. And I just sat there. I was like,
he's Morgan Freeman, man.
You're like, this is kind of cool that this is happening right now.
I'm like, listen, God, if God wants to flirt with my wife, go for it, baby. You just go right ahead. You go right ahead.
I can't stand in the way of that.
Well, that happened a little bit at a convention that Henry and I went to before COVID. And he's like, well, it is so-and-so. So Academy Award winner. What am I going to do about that? And I'm like,
Deb understands that. However, if Emily Blunt shows up to the door, she has to leave for 3 weeks. So that's just the way that goes.
Yeah.
No, but I love one of my favorite shows in the entire world is The Following.
Oh, it's amazing.
And
he's amazing in it. He's amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: we've written so much material over the years that I've got a ton of dream projects. That being said, I will say the television series that I just finished up was based on a screenplay I had written solo many years ago. That was a film that was originally Kevin Spacey and Haley Joel Osment were attached to in the mid 2000s. And it's based loosely on my childhood. It's a thriller that now we've turned into a TV series that is absolutely the best thing that we've ever written. It's the best thing we've ever put on paper. So yeah, so that's coming down the pike right now. So
I'm so excited. Well, when it becomes close to premiere time, you have to definitely come back. And
absolutely will.
We can talk all about that.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about your cast though in Jason Goes to Hell, because I love all these people so very much. And I really show my age. For example, when Henry, for example, when we were watching it and he saw Leslie Jordan, he's like, "Oh, American Horror Story." And then I know other people that go, "Oh, Will and Grace." I'm like, "No, Jason Goes to Hell, you toddler." You know?
It was really one of his first. It was one of the first things he ever acted in.
Oh, I loved him in that. And, you know, I've been a fan ever since that. And since he's done some really good horror things like Madhouse. I loved Madhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Starring Patricia Darbo and Lance Hendrickson. And so good. My most favorite person in the whole world, though, and anything she's ever done and ever is Rusty Schwimmer.
And by the way, you could not meet a more extraordinary, amazing, loving human being. She is sunshine and joy as a person.
That's really good to hear, because it's really, really, really disappointing when you hear they're terrible people.
Yeah.
Because I am such a fan in anything she's ever does, even the smallest parts. She's the most amazing thing.
She's brilliant.
The best thing in Perfect Sisters and Heroes and Providence. And I love her Tales from the Crypt episode with Wendy Malick. She's so funny, even though it's only in the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was complete. I mean, her character is like very much me. I'm like, yes. And then for a second in Sleepwalkers and Candyman, of course. And Wild Honey was a gem. That's more recent.
Amazing film. She's amazing in it.
Everyone's amazing in it. And
yes.
That one made me go, wow. I hope more people know about this movie than I think they do. I saw it on Tubi 2 years ago, and it's one of my favorite movies.
It's a great film.
I have not seen this, but I have to now.
Oh, it's great. Funny. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry a little bit. You're going to go, oh dear. And then you're going to do this.
Rusty's work on the show Louie was unbelievable when she played Louis C.K.'s sister. She was extraordinary. No, Rusty, by the way, Rusty was interviewed for the documentary. And she and I hadn't spoken for a while, not because we didn't want to, but because of life.
Right.
And I'm telling you, like, not a second had gone by. Like it was truly, she is one of those people that the minute I'm with her, the rest of the world disappears and it's just her and I talking. It's just the two of us. She is, oh my God, she's such a phenomenal, extraordinary person. By the way, great story about her casting.
I want to know, because I love the character so very much.
This is a crazy
She's my fave.
So Joey B, the reason the name of the character is Joey B is it's named after one of my childhood heroes who I got to live next to when I was a kid, a guy named Joseph Bologna, Joe Bologna. Joe Bologna was the lead of one of the leads of the movie My Favorite Year, which has always been my favorite comedy. Yeah. So Joey B was named after Joe Bologna. So it was written for a man. Initially, it was a guy that ran the diner and his wife was his cook. And their son was in the mix. Okay. So Rusty comes in to read for the wife.
Really?
Yes. She comes in to read for the part that Leslie Jordan ended up playing.
Right.
Okay. So she comes in, she reads for the wife. She kills it. She murders it better than anybody else does. I'm like, okay. And we were literally like maybe 3 or 4 hours into the day. I had another like 10 actresses coming in to read for that part. And I was reading opposite my cast because I wanted to see eye to eye what they would do, in performance. So I say to Rusty, I said, look, I'm exhausted. Would you mind reading opposite the next few women that are coming in? I said, because here's the thing, you got the job.
Yeah.
No one else is going to get this. I'm going to say, but I don't want to send these
Right.
actresses home.
They've all been waiting.
Hard. They worked
Right.
hard. I want them to meet me so that, we get, I said, but you got the job. She's like, I got the job. I'll do whatever you need me to do. I was like, great. So she sits down and she starts reading Joey B opposite these actresses. And we're two auditions in, and I was like,
wait a minute.
And we get through the rest of the day. I walk over to David Giella and Barry Moss, my casting directors. I said, guys, I've made a wonderful discovery. We wrote Joey B for the wrong sex. They were like, what do you mean? I said, Rusty is Joey B. I said, get me a guy. Get me a guy opposite her. I said, and if we can get someone really diminutive, because Rusty is so big, I'm like, get me someone tiny.
Yeah.
And they said, we think we have the perfect person. Cut to Leslie Jordan walks into my office the next morning.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
literally, he said 2 lines. I'm like, you're it. Done. Stop. That's it. So the 2 of them, and then, of course, my buddy Adam Cranner, who I wrote Ward for. I wrote that character specifically for this guy I knew since I was 8 years old. He is such a perfect amalgamation of those 2 actors. It's kind of crazy.
He is.
Yeah.
So Rusty's acting prowess is what got her the part of Joey B, because that role was not written for a woman.
Oh, wow. You see?
And now I couldn't imagine anybody else. I could never imagine anybody else ever.
Yeah. The other thing is, everybody always thinks, because her dialogue is so freeform, that she must have made some of that stuff up. Not a word. Yeah. Every single word of that she says in that movie is in the screenplay. So when you consider that was all written for a guy, you go oh yeah, that does make sense. But how much more joyous is it that it's coming from a woman? It's so much smarter. It's so much more fun. The baby will be just as fucking cute out on the fucking sidewalk. Yeah. I mean, she just oh man, and again, what I also love about it is that she could not be less like Joey B as a person.
Right. Right.
She's really, Rusty is, she's my heart. Yeah.
She's my fave part of the whole movie. She's almost my favorite kill too. That's awesome. I mean,
actually have.
You really can't beat, the tent, but
oh yeah.
But if we're not going with the tent, it's her.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's one thing that we always do in our episodes. We have a favorite kill segment.
Yeah.
We have a fashion moment, a best hair, epic line. I can almost guarantee you that Joey B is going to be all those when we finally get around to part 9 in a few years. Mm-hmm. I can almost guarantee you that it's all going to be all about Joey.
Yeah.
I actually have her full bust in my office with the face crushed in.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we used to have it in our living room, yet it scared the crap out of my wife every time we'd walk in the door, because we had it with the head to the door, to the back of the head to the door. And it looks just like my wife's mother.
Oh God.
So she thought her mother was in our house. By the way, her mother passed away many years ago.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
It looked like her mother was in the house every single time we walked in the house. She's like, ah! I'm like, all right, I'll put it away. I'll put it elsewhere.
Put it in another room.
Yeah. Yes. So Rusty had to go to another room, but no, it's an amazing. Here's the thing. Rusty is also, because her character is so abrasive, is such a loudmouth. And we tried to make the kills work towards personality to some degree.
Right.
The fact that her mouth gets caved in is so satisfying for people in the audience that don't like her character. They're like, oh, won't she just shut up? And that happens. So, yeah.
Well, even if you do, it's like,
right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even if You do. Okay, other cast members. Let's talk about Julie Michaels, who still apparently had her witchboard hair on.
Mm-hmm. She did.
Was that the witchboard weave?
That is the
or is that
witchboard weave.
something else?
No, it was the witchboard weave.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, Julie's incredible. Julie and I are really close friends.
Also, your namesake as far as her character.
Well, by the way, and I did not do that. Just so you know, I did not do that. Sean Cunningham did that because we placed the movie in Cunningham County, which annoyed the crap out of him. So on the night that Jimmy Gleason comes in to say that line about, like, you know, good work, Agent Marcus.
Yeah.
That had been added that night. And Sean comes out behind me like, hey, 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 hey. It's one of the only lines that was actually made up on the spot. The other, and it was funny because it was all around that sequence, because the other line that was made up on the spot was when I added Creighton Duke to the opening scene. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Originally, he was just supposed to be watching silently and smoking a cigar. Mm-hmm. And I walked up to him and I said, hey, do me a favor. Just throw out the line, I don't think so. And Steven was like, done. Like, great. Good.
Creighton Duke, love the character. By the way, you've mentioned Jaws several times, and his little monologue did not escape me that it was very much Quint.
Oh, he is Quint, but he is Quint. He is Quint. Yeah. Dean, Laurie, and I, one of our favorite characters of all time is Quint, because Jaws is one of our favorite movies. So when we created Creighton Duke, it was, how do we get Quint in the movie?
Yeah, you succeeded.
Yeah, I'll get you the mask, the machete, the whole damn thing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you know, it's like when you're so engrossed in horror like we are, we hear those things and we're like,
oh, yeah.
But if you're not, you're like, oh, okay. No, you don't get it. This is genius.
Let's put it this way. Any audience member who came to see Jason Goes to Hell and doesn't know that quote, they're not horror fans. They're posers.
Exactly.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Exactly.
Right. Richard Gant is what everybody knew him from at that point was Rocky V.
Yeah.
And which he's amazing in, even though that is the worst of all the Rockies, but he's incredible in that movie.
He's incredible.
And yes, and I got to tell you, like, couldn't be more of a teddy bear of a man.
Oh, nice.
It's funny because with Steven, one of the first times he and I met, he was sitting at lunch, and as I went to sit down with him at lunch, I looked at him and I said, "Orange whip, 3 orange whips." And he couldn't believe someone was like, most people don't even recognize that I'm that guy. I'm like, I know you.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, also another Chicago connection, Cooley High.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
His first role.
And an amazing film.
A fantastic film.
That movie's amazing.
Right. Stephen Culp.
A brilliant thespian. I mean, the thing about Stephen is that, you know, he's actually one of the few guys that has kind of taken a little step back from any of his horror stuff.
Yeah.
Because he does so well. You know, look, this is a guy who played Bobby Kennedy opposite Kevin Costner. I mean, he's had an illustrious career. He's an amazing dude. Stephen and I hang out at the theater a lot, and he took over for Angels in America. I mean, the guy he's really extraordinary. He's an extraordinary talent. Yeah.
John LeMay, Friday the 13th, the series.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Like, yeah.
Well, the thing about John, John was very late casting. John was almost one of the last people cast in the whole movie. Him and Stephen Williams, actually. And the reason is there was originally someone else playing that part. So Jonathan Penner, who ended up playing Vicky's boyfriend, David, in the movie, and it got cut. But it's in the television version of the film. Jonathan and I are good friends. He's a brilliant actor and also wonderful writer. Him and his wife Stacy Title made the incredible movie The Last Supper, which if you've never seen, it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary movie. And Jonathan also is the most seen contestant on Survivor. He's played more days than any other person in the show.
Really?
Wow.
Yes, that is Jonathan's big thing. His wife Stacy we just lost her to ALS beginning of this year. Yeah. But Jonathan was supposed to play the part, and New Line bumped the movie 2 months. We had to do a rewrite, and they bumped the movie, and Jonathan had another contract that he couldn't get out of.
Sure.
So I said, look, you can't play the lead, but will you come in and play this, this day character who gets naked? And he was like, you had me at naked. So I literally lost my lead like a month before shooting.
Wow.
And my assistant director, my first AD, Sam Mahoney, incredible guy. He said to me, he's like, hey, I worked on Friday 13th, the series. Pretty great guy in the lead. Might be great for this part. I was like, oh, I know that dude. He's like, yeah. Says I can call him up today. He'll come in. I was like, great.
Yeah.
He came in. We met. I was like, totally done. You're awesome. Here's the thing, though, about John. John is one of the only actors that I actually had any conflict with as far as how to play the part.
Okay.
John and I were great friends, and he's an amazing guy and incredibly talented. The problem is, because he had done Friday 13th, the series, he had done sort of the jokey, funny stuff a lot.
Right.
And I had said to him, I said, look, John, it's kind of John McClane in Die Hard. It's like, it's this guy who is thrown into this insane circumstance and doesn't have his shoes on. I said, that's the way I want you to think of this guy.
Yeah.
And John kept thinking of him as Hamlet.
Okay.
And so literally there were times where it's like, no, John, it's too dark, man. It's too serious. Like, lighten him up. I said, you're the final boy. Lighten up. Have some fun. And I'm telling you, like, there were I literally had to reshoot 3 scenes of John's because he was so morose and they were like funny scenes. I'm like, no, dude. So, but I got to tell you, what I love about John, he forced me to see the character differently.
Yeah.
And he also took direction in really starting to craft this guy that did have a sense of humor, because he started with no sense of humor. And by the time we got to the stuff with the campers, with him driving the kids to the campsite, he was like, fuck it. I'm just going to have fun. And I'm like, oh, there we go. Look at that. So yeah, he's a brilliant actor. And honestly, just the thing about John that was the best of all of it, he's one of the kindest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
He's incredibly sensitive, sweet, good-hearted man. He's just a good guy. Yeah.
It's nice. I mean, it sounds like you worked with so many great people on this movie.
I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
My husband would kill me if I didn't mention Aaron Gray. And how did that casting happen?
Aaron did not want to be in the movie. Aaron came to see me. By the way, right before I met with Aaron, I met with Tippi Hedren. I was the person who came in for the movie right before Aaron. So Aaron came in, and I had known I wanted Aaron from day one. Like, the minute her headshot came across my desk, I was like, no, that's her.
Yeah.
So Aaron came in only because her son was an insane horror fan and was hoping that he could get a PA job in the makeup department.
Okay.
Right? So Aaron came in basically pitching her son to me, which was adorable, right?
Oh, I love that so much.
And I said, look, Aaron, I said, here's the thing. I said, you're my top choice for this role. I said, I'm not telling you this because you're in the room with me. I'm telling you this because you're my top choice for the role.
Yeah.
I said, and here's what I will tell you. I said, I think that people have used you for most of your career as a prop. I said, they've cast you because you're a model, not because you're an actor.
Right.
I said, I've watched all your work. You're an actor. I said, I can guarantee you when you're on my set, you're going to have very little makeup. I am not going to have people fawning over your looks. That's not what we're doing. I said, I want people to see how good Aaron Gray is. She signed on 5 minutes later.
Did her son get the job?
Yep.
There you go.
Her son worked with K&B.
See, got
Very
to apprentice, right?
Yeah.
And you know how important that is,
Oh, hell yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. No, it's how my life started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know, is he still doing it?
I don't know that actually.
We need to find that out.
And here's what's funny.
I want to know.
So one of my actors in my troupe is a guy named Gib Gerard, who is the son of Connie Selica and Gil Gerard, the original Buck Rogers.
Uh-huh.
So, and Aaron, he considers his aunt.
Yeah.
So now Aaron and I have so many connections to each other. It's kind of like Erin Gray. She's the first person to ever tell me what a MILF was.
An important lesson.
That was a very conflicting moment for me on set because I'm trying to be a professional director, yet I have Erin Gray telling me what a MILF is, and I'm like, she is Erin's amazing. Erin's a pretty amazing, powerful. Boy, is she a powerful lady. No, I adored working with Erin. We had an incredible time together on set too. It was just, I really had a good time. And look,
I can tell.
Yeah.
I really did. Well, I love actors. Like I love actors. It's everything for me. And so I just got this opportunity to work with these amazing, talented journeyman actors.
Yeah.
Who just kept turning in incredible performances for me. It was really, really amazing. Yeah.
And of course, I mean, Kane Hodder in and out of costume.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty. Not only that, but he was also my stunt coordinator for the whole film. So he was there.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Kane and I are still really good buddies. I adore Kane. I'm actually writing something for him right now in one of the things we're doing. Kane takes playing the part of Jason more seriously than any actor I've ever seen committed to any role.
Yep.
Wow.
So it's
he
why
seems to do that with everything, whether it's Jason or Hatchet.
Yeah,
he does, or any role where he's out of makeup, he does too. So he's very committed. And the thing is, Kane is one of those guys. Look, in our industry, every stuntman is an actor, right? But they're not.
Sure.
Right.
Like there's a lot of stunt guys that shouldn't act. They should just fall down on things. Kane is one of those guys who so desperately wants people to understand, no, I actually care about the craft as well. And I knew that going in. It's why we wrote the part for him as the security guard. Was like, I want you out of makeup. Like, why? Let's do. Also, the idea of Jason killing Jason was just too funny.
It's fun.
It's great.
Just too cool.
Can't beat that. Yeah,
you can't. And then of course he got to play Freddy Krueger as well. So he's the only actor to play Jason, Leatherface, and Freddy.
Yeah.
Only one.
I mean,
only
the
one.
Trifecta right there.
It really is. I'll tell you a quick Kane story that will illuminate sort of my experience with him. We were on the last day of Jason Goes to Hell, and Kane had to be in the full makeup. And we were on set. We were on our stages, right? So we were indoors shooting the whole finale with him being dragged to hell and everything. And my cinematographer, Bill Dill, who is the best DP I've ever worked with. Bill, he had a son named Elliot. Elliot was 3 years old. But Bill and his former wife, Edna, the two of them are incredibly tall people, both over 6 feet tall. So Elliot was already a tall little boy. He looked like he was 5 or 6. He didn't look like 3.
Right.
Wow.
So everybody would treat him as though he was 5 or 6, even though he was a little boy. So, not that 5 or 6 isn't a little boy, but
toddler. They're treating him like he was 5 or 6 and not 2.
Right. So Elliot had come in and was walking around looking at everything, and he saw Kane in the full makeup. Right. Didn't scare him at all. like nothing, right? So he's watching him, and then they were taking Kane out of the suit, which was a full cool suit, right? The entire thing was one piece.
Yeah.
So they're pulling him out. As they were pulling him out, you could see Kane's skin, which is burned. 90% of his body has burns. So you could see him getting pulled out of the suit. Elliot suddenly got very frightened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that Elliot is, Bill is black. So Elliot is of color as well.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got this little boy freaking out about this. Kane kneels down and says, come here. Come here. And so Elliot walks over very sheepishly.
Right.
And Kane puts out his arm. He goes, it's okay. It's just like yours.
Mm-hmm.
Just touch.
Mm-hmm.
He says, it just looks a little different. You know, it's just, And so Elliot touches his arm, right? Totally demystifies the fact that he's got burns everywhere.
Yeah.
10 minutes later, Kane is in his usual black t-shirt and jeans, and he has lifted Elliot up on his shoulders while we were all having the rap party on the stages, and he carried that kid for over an hour.
Oh, that is the sweetest story.
And I'm telling you, this little boy who, trust me, has had lots of times where he had to feel different because of his skin color, suddenly had this connection to this man who demystified all of it, who made everybody's cool and everybody's the same.
Yeah.
I was like, I watched this, and again, like Kane always wants to come off as like the scary guy and the tough guy and all this stuff.
I was just worried he was going to be a jerk.
Right. And I just walked up to him and I was like, you're a pussycat and you're never living it down. Deal with it, kid.
That is so sweet. Oh, my goodness.
Pretty incredible stuff. Stuff.
We are almost out of time. I know you have somewhere to be. I do have one final wrap-up question. First of all, 2 questions. Will you please come back and do this again? Because we have so much more we want to talk about.
Oh, so absolutely.
Yeah.
So much more.
You are both fantastic. This was
Thank
lovely.
you.
Yes.
Likewise. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
So I like to usually to ask this to actors, but I think it's very interesting to ask it to a writer.
Mm-hmm.
What is first instinct? No wrong answer. What is the favorite line that you've ever written? We know the one you didn't write that you don't like, but what?
Yeah, no, that.
When you first
that was
instinct,
not you.
It makes you smile. It can change tomorrow too, but like right now at the moment.
There's some doozies in Secret Santa that I love, that I really do love.
I'm so excited for this movie, by the way.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, and when you see it, you will see why I'm so conflicted, because there are things that I've written that you would be like, oh my God. But I'm like,
Jamie, we're going to have hard time with our Epic Line segment.
I know we are going to have a hard time with Epic Line.
It is great. I'm telling you, it is crazy. Let me think for a second. Oh my God, there's so many.
And like I said, it could change tomorrow, you know.
No, I know, but I want to give you something that's real for me, that I'm like, I love that line, but also that won't make people go like, oh my God, did he just say
that's
that?
okay too, though.
There,
I stumped him, Jamie.
There's
good ones. I can tell there's good ones. This one is plentiful with good lines. I can tell already.
There's a line. Oh no, I can't. God, because people will think I'm a monster. Wow. Wow. Who knew I would get stumped like this? Okay.
I feel victorious.
There's an amazing line because it lands so brilliantly. There's a wonderful actor. Her name is Pat Destro. Pat plays one of the leads of Secret Santa. By the way, Secret Santa is a 13-person ensemble. So it's 13 voices almost the whole movie, and they're all incredible actors. There's a line that she has where, after this young girl talks about the death of her grandfather, right? and about this day that was so important to her, where she hid everybody's coats so they couldn't leave. Mm-hmm. Because she wanted this day about her grandfather. Her grandfather had just passed away, and everybody was telling these wonderful stories about her grandfather. And her grandfather was the one person in her family that she felt really loved by and connected to. And everybody was telling all these beautiful stories about her grandpa. So she hid all the coats so nobody could leave. So everybody would just keep telling stories about her grandpa, right? And her aunt, played by Pat Destro, turns and looks at her and goes, wah, wah, wah. It brings the house down every time. Every time the movie plays, it brings the house down. Because literally everybody in the cast has tears in their eyes while this girl is telling this beautiful story. And her aunt is like, oh, fuck off.
So her aunt is very like Aunt Dorothy and Krampus.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No,
which is, again, the best character in the movie.
Here's the thing. The people in Krampus truly are like the Bradys compared to this family.
So excited.
I am so really excited are for this.
And when you see the movie, I'm telling you, do you guys know who Drew Lynch is?
Name's familiar.
He's the stuttering comedian. He came in second on America's Got Talent a few years ago. He's imagine Michael J. Fox in his mid-20s with a stutter.
Okay. All right. I can see that. Mm-hmm.
He has got a monologue in this movie. I will not give it away. He has got a monologue in the middle of this film that every single screening in every country we were in got a standing ovation every time. In the middle of a movie, people would stand up and applaud the screen.
Oh, wow. You must feel amazing about that.
Oh my God. It's like, it's the happiest I've ever been watching someone do perform a piece of our writing. The only other time I had that much joy was we had written a monologue for Morgan Freeman in Momentum, and we're on set with him, and he's doing the line, and he kept stumbling over this one section of the line, just kept fumbling the line. And I walked in and I went, Morgan, we can rewrite it for you if it's about. He goes, no, I got it. I'll get it. I'll get the line. And he stumbled again, and I turned to Deb. I said, we just made God stumble. So, that was sheer joy. And again, he's such a pro that he's like, no, it's a good line. I want to get the line.
I'll get it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Well, Adam, it has been an honor and a pleasure, and I can't wait to do this again with you.
We have to do this again.
So much fun.
I still have so many questions too, so we
got
even
more
other
now than when I started, and we haven't even hit on the list.
Yeah,
good. Well, look, let's do this. Watch Secret Santa, and let's do something for Christmas time.
Oh, sounds amazing.
That sounds so jolly and fun. Yes,
sounds amazing. Okay,
I'm totally in. Awesome.
Oh. Well, everybody, I hope you have had as much fun watching and listening to this as we have. Happy Friday the 13th anniversary of Jason Goes to Hell. It's amazing. I'm so excited to hear that.
Thank you.
And I don't know, but you've been listening to the Dolls of Horror. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.